They say that losing a parent is one of the hardest things a child can experience. I was only 13 when my father died in a car accident, and in many ways, I lost both parents that day. My name is Gerald, and this is the story of how my mother's grief turned to resentment, how her new boyfriend became my tormentor, and how I ultimately had to save myself from their deadly plans. My dad was everything to me. He coached my baseball team, helped with my science projects, and always made time for me despite his demanding job as an investment banker. My mother, Linda, had always been more distant, but Dad's presence balanced things out. Our family wasn't perfect, but it was functional, at least until the accident. The night the police came to our door with the news, something in my mother broke. Not in the way you'd expect, not with tears and heartbreak, but like a dam bursting, releasing years of pent-up frustration.
Free, I'm finally free.
Free? What does that mean?
It means I don't have to keep pretending anymore. Neither you or your loser father can hold me back from living the kind of life I've always wanted to live. I'm free to finally have some fun.
Those were the first words she whispered after the officers left. I chose to ignore her, as I figured that she was just going through some terrible grief and was talking nonsense. And I cried and ran into my room to get away from her. However, those words would haunt me for years to come. Within weeks of Dad's funeral, Mom transformed. She dyed her brown hair platinum blonde, started wearing clothes that belonged on someone half her age, and began going out nearly every night. Our home, once filled with warmth and the smell of home-cooked meals, became a neglected shell.
Gerald, there's leftover pizza in the fridge. I'm going out. Don't wait up.
But Mom, I have my science fair tomorrow. You promised you'd help me finish my project.
Figure it out yourself. I've wasted enough years playing mommy. It's my turn to live now.
That became our new normal. Some nights, I'd wake up at 3 a.m. to find her stumbling through the door with her makeup smeared, reeking of alcohol. Other days, she wouldn't come home at all. I learned to cook for myself, do my own laundry, and essentially raise myself at 13. One particularly bad night, I had a 103-degree fever. I called her cell phone repeatedly, desperate for help.
What? I'm busy.
Mom, I'm really sick. I think I need to go to the doctor. I can't stop throwing up and everything. Hurts.
Take some Tylenol and go to bed. I'll check on you in the morning.
Can you please come home? The fever is so high that I'm hallucinating.
No, you little piece of crap. I'm having fun and I'm not coming home because you have a little cold. Take the medicine and sleep it off, or better yet, just take the whole bottle and do me a favor.
She didn't come home until the following afternoon, by which time my fever had broken on its own. When I confronted her, her response cut deeper than any physical pain.
You know what? Your father coddled you too much. The world is tough, Gerald. Get used to it.
I could have died, and you act like you don't even care.
That's because I don't. Haven't you figured it out by now?
I truly no longer knew who this woman was that was living with me. It was like she had become possessed by some evil demon, and the mother I had always known was long gone. About 6 months after Dad died, Mom brought home Tony. He was tall, with slicked back hair, a permanent 5 o'clock shadow, and eyes that seemed to calculate everything in terms of profit and loss. From the moment we met, I knew he was trouble. So this is the kid, huh? Doesn't look like much.
He's just like his father, always in the way, and always whining about something.
A quick smack upside the head usually fixes that.
Yeah, Tony, I bet you're right.
They laughed like I wasn't even in the room. I could smell the alcohol on both their breaths, even though it was only 4 p.m. Something about Tony made my skin crawl. The way he looked at our home, assessing its value. The way he eyed the framed photo of Dad like he was sizing up competition that was already gone. Within 2 months, Tony had moved in. That's when I found out what he really was, a small-time criminal with big ambitions who saw my mother as his ticket to a comfortable life. I overheard him on the phone one night, talking about merchandise that needed to be moved and making threats that made my blood run cold. The first time Tony hit me, it was because I'd used his coffee mug. The second time, I'd made too much noise while he was nursing a hangover. By the third time, he didn't even bother with excuses. When I finally worked up the courage to tell Mom about the abuse, her reaction destroyed what little hope I had left. Mom, Tony hit me again. This time he used his belt. Look.
What do you want me to do about it? Maybe if you weren't such a whiny little brat, he wouldn't have to discipline you.
Discipline me. He's not my father. He has no right to touch me.
You know what? I wish you had died with your father. Then all his money would have come straight to me instead of half of it being tied up in a trust for you until you're 18. You're nothing but a burden and a reminder of the years I wasted.
Her words hurt more than any of Tony's blows. That night, I locked myself in my room and cried until there were no tears left. Then I began counting. 1,825 days until my 18th birthday, when I could access my trust fund and escape this nightmare. I endured 2 more years of hell. Tony's abuse escalated, Mom's indifference deepened, and I learned to make myself as invisible as possible. School became my sanctuary, and my best friend Mike's house became my weekend refuge whenever possible. Then, 3 months before my 16th birthday, I overheard a conversation that changed everything. So the kid's trust is worth how much?
Almost $2 million. John had excellent life insurance, and his investments have done well.
And if the kid was out of the picture, you'd get it all?
As his only living parent, yes. But we've been through this. The court would be suspicious if anything happened to him.
Not if it looked like an accident. Carbon monoxide poisoning happens all the time. We rig the furnace, make sure the kid's home alone, and we have an alibi for being out. By the time anyone finds him, we're in the clear.
I don't know. Are you sure we could get away with it?
Think about it, baby. $2 million. We could move somewhere warm, somewhere with no extradition. No more scams, no more nickel and dime jobs. Just luxury for the rest of our lives. Trust me, the plan is foolproof.
He is the last loose end that is keeping me tied down. Without him, I would be truly free. Okay, let's do it.
My blood ran cold as I heard them plan my murder. They settled on doing it the following Friday, when they thought I'd be home alone studying for midterms. I knew I needed to act fast. I called Mike and arranged to stay at his house that Friday night, claiming I needed help with chemistry. Then I raided Mom's medicine cabinet and crushed her sleeping pills into a fine powder. The last piece of the puzzle was the bottle of whiskey Tony kept in the kitchen, the one they both drank from every night. Friday came, and from my room, I heard Tony head downstairs and work on something before coming up and heading towards the kitchen. I watched them from the corner of my eye as they prepared for their evening ritual. Tony poured 2 generous glasses of the doctored whiskey as he whispered to my mother.
Is it done?
Yeah, I made it so the furnace will blast out lots of carbon monoxide. We can stay for a few hours before it starts to affect us, but we need to leave soon.
Perfect.
I pretended like I couldn't hear them, but I knew all too well what they were talking about. Kid, don't you have studying to do or something? Yeah, but I wanted to tell you both that I made dinner first. It's in the oven staying warm.
Since when do you cook for us?
I just felt like doing something nice for once. I smiled innocently as they exchanged confused glances before shrugging it off. They sipped their whiskey while I packed my overnight bag in secret. I didn't want them to suspect that I knew what they were intending to do. You two look tired. Long week? Something like that? Why are you being so weird? Just in a good mood. You know, life is full of surprises. Sometimes things don't go as planned. I watched as their eyelids grew heavy, their speech slurred. Tony struggled to get up from the couch, but collapsed back down. Mom didn't even notice as her glass slipped from her fingers onto the carpet. I knew they had planned to set up the gas leak and then leave the house, but now they wouldn't be going anywhere. I took one last look at them before I left for Mike's house. Part of me felt a twinge of guilt, but it was quickly replaced by the cool certainty that I was merely turning their trap against them. It was self-defense, nothing more. The next morning, I returned home as if nothing had happened. The silence in the house was deafening. I found them exactly where I'd left them, motionless on the couch. There wasn't even a smell of gas in the air. As a precaution, though, I went outside before calling 911, my voice cracking with practiced distress. The paramedics arrived within minutes. They kept me outside while they confirmed what I already knew. A Detective Johnson interviewed me later that day, his eyes full of sympathy. It appears to have been a terrible accident, son. The gas line to your furnace was faulty. They likely didn't even know what was happening. They were fine when I left for my friend's house. Carbon monoxide is known as the silent killer for a reason. I'm so sorry for your loss. 2 weeks later, Dad's attorney, Mr. Pearson, informed me that as the sole heir, I would inherit not only my trust fund, but also all of Mom's assets once I turned 18. Until then, my Uncle Henry would be my guardian. Your father was very thorough in his will, Gerald. He wanted to make sure you would be taken care of, no matter what. What about my mom's boyfriend, Tony? Did he have any claim? None whatsoever. They weren't married, and even if they had been, your mother's will, drafted after your father's death, left everything to you. Uncle Henry moved in the following week. He was Dad's younger brother and had always been kind to me. Under his guardianship, I finally experienced what it was like to have a caring adult in my life again. When I turned 18, I sold the house to Uncle Henry at a fraction of its value. It was the least I could do after all he'd done for me. The combined inheritance was more than enough to buy a small condo near the university I'd be attending and pay for my education in full. Sometimes I think about that night and wonder if I could have chosen a different path. But then I remember the cold calculation in Tony's voice as he planned my death, and my mother's willing complicity. They had set the trap themselves. I merely chose not to walk into it. Today, I'm finishing my degree in psychology. I want to help kids who have suffered abuse and neglect, to be for them what no one was for me when I needed it most. Life has given me a second chance, and I intend to make the most of it, not just for myself, but for others who find themselves in the darkness I once knew. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe and leave a comment down below saying I subscribed, and we will try our best to reply to your comment.